on your own.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Tiffany, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Garvey.
Present.
Councilwoman Workala.
Present.
Councilman Brennan.
Present.
Councilman Harjo.
Present.
Mayor Sykes.
Present. Let the record reflect that we do have a quorum for Tuesday, May 14th, 2024. We'll run down to presentation. Pastor Micah Brackett, share some information on the RU Recovery Program at the Bible Baptist Church. Come on down, sir. Hey, Ben.
Doing well, and yourself?
Really good.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Out of respect to what we have going on, how much time do I have?
The floor is yours, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. I just wanted to come in just for a few minutes and just kind of, I know 5 years ago I was here and wanted to just come back in and kind of give you an update after 5 years of being with the a program that we have at the church. I've been there 6 years as the pastor at Bible Baptist Church here in Mountain Home, and one of the reasons why I believe that it was necessary for us to start this program, because I had experience of my mother passed away with a life full of snares and different things in her life that could have, if she could have got some help, possibly that there could have been some change in her life. And I felt the need to start a program at the church called Reformers Unanimous. And we've been there 5 years. Our chapter number is 1168, and we have tied it in with Psalms 116 verse 8, which kind of ties in with the chapter number. And I like to give the verse to the council. And once again, I'm going to stop right here and just say congratulations on the re-election. Thank you so much for what you've done to help with the town and giving us the opportunity to serve and be of help to the town. And the council members on y'all's runs and success on that. We sure do appreciate what you do for the town, that's for sure. I really appreciate just like I said, I've been here 6 years from South Carolina, and I really appreciate how it just has really, what y'all have done has really been a big help to our town, and I mean that. I really feel at home, really like the town, and look forward to hopefully many more years being here and help serve it in the community. But Psalms 116 verse 8 says this, "For thou hast delivered my soul from death, mine eyes from tears, and my feet from falling." And I thought it was very adequate for that to be our theme verse for the last 5 years. We average about 13 to 15. We have had upwards of close to 20 people come every Friday night at 7 o'clock, and it usually lasts about an hour and a half. And we do our best to try to reach out to anyone that's got questions about the program. We've seen a good number of people from the community come to it. We are a Bible-based program, and when I mean that, what I mean by that is I feel like a lot of man-based programs deal with the fruit of problems, but I feel like the Bible helps deal with the root that causes the problems. And we believe that God has an answer for all man's problems, and it is found in God's Word. And so we really have anchored down in that, and so we really try to give an answer to a lot of problems I feel like is really a snare to a community. And I feel like, especially I can speak for our church, I feel like we'll be in direct opposition to the casino coming to town. I feel like that brings a lot of snares to homes and families that are unnecessary. That's just our opinion where we stand at. We're not going to be postering y'all or anything like that, or trying to antagonize y'all with that. But I feel like it's needful for us to tell our stand on it, mainly for the fact that families will suffer from that. Gambling addictions, drug addictions. I think crime goes up in all those areas. And it may be profitable to a town, but I believe it'll be unprofitable to families and homes staying together. And so regardless, we'll be here for either side of the coin. And we deal with all types of issues, whether it's drinking or drugs, pornography, credit card situations, bitterness, hatred, tempers, drama. I believe people are addicted to drama. Facebook. Hello. All good back there? But I believe it's just a lot of addictions today that that snares our time away from our families. And you don't have to come to these programs and tell us what your issues are. We just try to give you a principle from God's Word that will help you, deliver you from those snares, and help you be a better, not just community, but a family member of society. And we all know this, that if our families thrive, our community thrives, our churches thrive, people get the help they need. I'm very opposed to trying to have our help come from government, even though that it has come to that. I believe a lot of church-based programs are good for helping people with their issues and problems, and we're here for that. And I'm free to, if you'd like to go to our website, Bible Baptist Church of Mountain Home, you can contact us and by email or by phone, and we'll do our best to respond pretty immediately with different things that we can be of help to the community. Sir.
Fantastic.
And if y'all have any questions, I'll be free to, if you got a second here, you know, any of that, I'll be glad to answer that.
Council, you got anything for Pastor Brackett? Well, I appreciate what you do for the community. It's definitely something that's needed, but like I said, it doesn't go unnoticed. We appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, and we'll do our best to not let it reach 5 years again on that. I just feel like some things get validated by 5 years, and we kind of, you know, it means something to me after 5 years. But I'll do our best to try to make a yearly thing out of it from here on, just to kind of keep our name relevant and our programs relevant for the people of Mountain Home.
Well, thank you. And thank you for your service.
Yes, sir. Thank you also.
Thank you.
again.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Let's run down to recognizing persons in the aisle. Would anybody like to get up and speak? Brennan?
Brandon McCarthy, 890 East 14th. Before I begin, I'd like to kind of preface that I like to come to this body when not as to be seen as a complainer, but someone that has trying to provide a solution to some of the things that come up in our community and that. Before anyone has any eye rolls on that, I'm sure that sometimes it does feel like that, but I have the good intention to try and bring a solution to what we might see as problems in that. So, because that's what we are, we're in a community and we're all here and we're all supposed to be good neighbors, right? So, that being said, I do have a topic tonight, and I do have a solution. Last Monday with the mayor, I submitted a question. It was addressed to Councilman Harjo. I'm not here to hide behind the question or anything. It was specifically asking why the special city council meetings were not being recorded and posted. The answer that was given, I was a little bit disappointed because it felt like it was started as a typical, but what was really disappointing was the answer when the word courtesy was thrown out. Now, I'm not here to insinuate intention or malicious or anything like that, but I don't believe courtesy should be thrown out when it comes to transparency in government. I think that that's something that you begin to start setting a playing field between the public and government, and that's where we start running into issues in that. The last two city council meetings, the one on May 2nd and May 10th, I noticed that they weren't posted on the website, the agendas. From what I saw this morning, they still weren't. They weren't recorded. Now I know, I'm not ignorant to the fact that they don't have to be on the website, they just have to be posted outside, and that they don't have to be recorded, just audio. But what I'm coming here to this body is to say that there's a bigger issue, not an issue, but a bigger idea when it comes to the transparency, and we have these meetings and that they should be recorded and posted because we want to be transparent with the public. I've heard all of you talk about wanting engagement for the public and that, but when we don't have these, I feel that that's where the shortcoming from. And it also helps with misinformation and things that gets out there because we hear directly from you all. The May 10th special city council meeting, I was a little bit worried with the agenda topic because the way it was titled, it was one of those where I was like, ooh, this seems like, you know, the way it's titled, are we kind of thinking about what the issue of maybe First Amendment things? But to credit Ms. Councilwoman Garvey had brought up the fact that, is there bigger issues or what we need to discuss on that? So, again, I'm just asking, please, really consider this. I'm sure you guys have these conversations, but I think it's one of those things that we don't want to miss the forest for the trees. We want that transparency so that we're getting out to the public and that we're not having this misinformation and we're having that level playing field with you guys. So, anyway, I've taken up your time. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brennan. We'll run down to the next one. Conflict of interest declaration. Has any council member received information pertaining to or otherwise had any contact with any person regarding any items on the city council? If so, please set forth nature of contact.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Workla?
a Julie Still, a number 6 on new business.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey?
we still on number 6 as well, please.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Workla?
Ted Thompson for the airport hangar land lease.
Okay. Mayor? Councilman Harjo?
Same. I received
Yeah.
one from Ted Thompson on that topic.
We all received it.
Anything else? All right, we'll run down the consent agenda.
Mayor.
Sorry, Tiff, go ahead.
Staff would like to pull item E from the consent agenda. We're still working with ITD. So hopefully it'll come back to 28th, if not, it'll be in June.
Changes to J.
And J, through interlineation through legal, we would like to adjust that from a 5-year agreement to, how did you word that?
The same line that you have, the 2-year renewable terms. Either party may terminate this agreement with or without
Without
cause with
cause.
30 days written notice. And then the only other thing on it, which I should have mentioned but didn't to you, was that the paragraph 4, third paragraph, it should say as provided by law, and then the rest of it, basically it says that we're to hold everything that they provide us as confidential. I'm like, yeah, but Brendan just said public records request, we can't.
Okay.
So us keeping things, the non-disclosure agreements just in general, we can't.
Sorry.
So council, any other ones you want to talk about, pull, besides, we're going to pull E and then J through interlineation. Anything else on the consent agenda? If not,
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey?
I have a question on the payment approval report. What, the grant Blue Cross Blue Shield, J&J Heating and Cooling, install underground electrical service for $1,900. What is that?
I don't know, I don't have it with me. Is that,
What page is that?
oh, you know what it is? It is the hooking up the electrical for the range.
And a grant for Blue Cross Blue Shield paid for that because?
I asked Courtney Frost if I was allowed to use my money for that, and she said absolutely.
So to clarify the grant funds, they're walking donation, so he participates in the mayors of Idaho do a youth walking challenge, and then they allocate money
Okay.
to that, so.
Councilman Brennan?
Before we just go straight to approval, I'd like to address Carlotta McCarthy and just say I've had an opportunity to read your resume, and I'm very impressed with the education and all that, and glad to have you on board.
Yes, I echo that. Thank you.
Want to come up?
I'm Carlotta McCarthy.
McCarthy kind of day.
Yeah, it is a McCarthy kind of day.
So Shasta, we put our name forward, and we thought she'd be a great fit for the library board. And got any questions for her?
I don't think so. I usually do, but I appreciate you submitting the resume. I feel like I got to know you pretty good just through that and all your accomplishments.
Well, thank you.
Definitely think that speaks for itself.
Easy peasy.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, also,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to just discuss, I won't pull it yet, discuss item G on the 6th Street reconstruction. Let me find the appropriate paperwork for that. Just so Chris, I had a chance to chat with you primarily just a few minutes ago, but this, what are we calling it, a 2-3 block extension here? It was identified on your road plan, CIP, but it wasn't at the very top of the list, but it was on there.
Correct.
Unlike probably some of the other topics we've talked about recently. Is that an accurate statement? Okay. The things I want to talk to you about the low bid offer that we got, if you could just help me clarify the exclusion section of the Sunrock contract. Talks about surveying is not included, traffic control is not included, a survey monument or removal, I'm not even sure what that is. Sweep.
Something that's happening.
What's that?
We're not doing any monument removal, so.
Okay. Sweeping, pavement markings, permitting, and then the last one was the no Davis-Bacon wages. Are we required to pay that, or that money be paid as part of a contract?
We are not required to.
We're not required to. Okay, I wasn't sure. So all these exclusions, the city is fully capable and ready to
Correct.
to perform ourselves?
And that's our intentions, yes.
Okay. And then when I compared the 3 quotes that we got, they're pretty close, but they're not apples to apples comparisons as far as like the manhole covers and our collars that they have to replace. Each company seemed to quantify them differently. Is Sunrock accurate as far as 40 large concrete collars and 50 small collars? Okay. And then yeah, that's why I said they're not perfect, because I think Idaho Materials and Construction's probably fairly close, but the third one, the most expensive, lacks a lot of detail, I think, in their quote. So typically I want to work on the order of precedence on our list of things, but since this is on the list and we're working right there, I can see some urgency is knocking that off of the list that already exists. So appreciate you answering the questions. Helping me work through it in my mind anyways.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, council.
Mayor, I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda. I'm not sure I'm gonna catch those changes. With the changes through interlineation on item I to reflect,
Jay.
excuse me, J, to reflect
Eagles comments.
with the legal added, and then also removing E. Sorry, I didn't make notes, I apologize. I'm removing E.
Second.
It's been motioned and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
All right. All right, we'll run down to old business, number 1. Deliberation decision to approve grant application 2023-2024-22 request to allow fire department to apply for the BEAD Idaho State Broadband Grant, authorized grant administrator to complete all grant documents, and mayor and city clerk to sign requirements. Council?
Mayor.
Councilwoman Workla?
I think why it was tabled is because at the last meeting, there was a request that you would come back, or city would come back with numbers proving that they can stay within the 35,000. Are those numbers provided or available?
So the city, yes, so it's an in-kind match. So wherever the number is the number, you know, I mean, that's what we're,
There's no in-kind match.
Yeah, there's no income, Mayor. Sorry.
So according to the grant request, it was, I think, 48,000.
50, I think.
Well, 50,000 is what was,
Applied for.
applied for, correct. And according to the grant application, it said in order to do this, job for mapping and planning, I think it was like 48,000 and some change there. And then the awarded amount was 35,000. So we as council agreed to table it to see if the city can stay within that 35,000. And the request was if the city can come back proving, showing that it can stay within the 35,000.
Okay.
Because if it can't, then how do we make up the difference? Where will that money be pulled from?
Right. So if it's for LID 2, it would come out of the LID funding.
Okay, so what LID funding? LID 1 runoff or?
So yeah, when you get the LID, what do we call it? The bond repayment, that's the money we'd use to offset if there was a need for offset.
Is this the? So there's no numbers to show if it would be over 35,000.
To me, it's one of those things that we just went out and applied for it if we could, you know what I mean? If the state wasn't giving money to cities or counties, and so I said, let's apply for it. If we get it, we get it. If we don't, I didn't figure we'd get it because they weren't giving money, so. Go ahead, Tiff.
Council, it's not uncommon that we apply for a grant and then only receive a lesser amount, and then we stay within that parameter. And so if it's approved with the not to exceed the 30,000 awarded amount, then that's where we would have to stay, because that's all that's in the line.
So then the mapping and planning would just stop short of.
Yeah, or you would prioritize, like, if surveying was 20,000 and mapping was 20, then we would only be able to do 10, and we would have to bring either that amount back to you and figure out how to allocate it, or we wouldn't be able to expend it. So, but it's like, these green sheets are good trackers for us, and that's what we initially applied for was 50, but a lot of them, we don't get the full amount we ask for. So we're constantly then adjusting our expenses to mirror what the fund, because we're gonna make those requests on the funds to be reimbursed.
Yeah, just from like my perspective is just when you look at the grant application, I already explained this last time as well, is when you look at the grant application and it says that you're going off LID 1 expense was 48,700, there's the number, for everything that is needed, but then it was awarded for 35. I think we're within our realm to ask, well, where does it come from? Would it be pulled from water, wastewater, line item? Like, how would we figure out like how that would be pulled for?
So right now, currently, the current takers of LID 1, they're the ones that are going to pay for that, right?
Is there money left over for that though? Like, how do we know that? How do we know there's going to be money left over from LID 1?
So no, the bond repayment. So the bond repayment, then you'll have all that money back, all of it back. So was it 1.2 or whatever it is? You're going to have all that come back. So you'll have all that money. This was just so what it really quintessentially does is it offsets the cost to the user, right? It offsets the cost to the person that takes the fiber, right? And so anything you can cut costs on, the hookup fee is going to be, instead of this much, it'll be just a little bit less because they didn't pay for the planning. They'll have $35,000 left out of the whole planning process instead of having to pay it all one shot.
The reason why I looked at you is because there was a number that you had, right? Do you know what that runoff number was currently? Because last time you gave a report for the workshop, I think it was like 300,000 or something.
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo.
So I have a burn down chart that exists from, I want to say it was current until the end of February or the end of March. Couldn't tell you the dollar amount that was in that. What I will say is that I think it's, when it comes to especially this grant, where there is no match language in the grant, it is free money that is coming back to the city that otherwise we would not have. And to deny this money that is intended for broadband by the state of Idaho and that program, to return that would nearly I think it flies in the face of making sure that the general taxpayer dollar isn't injected into fiber. Like, why give the free money back rather than injecting money back into so it dilutes the overall burden? I can't seem to find in logic why we would give this money back other than it being a hot button item.
Mayor,
Councilwoman
I
Workla?
didn't say give the money back. I said, how are we gonna make up the difference? I'm pretty sure that was my point, was
Okay.
how are we gonna make up the difference if there is a, excess?
So.
That was my question.
Yeah, so it would essentially come out, if we needed an excess, it would come out of the bond bit, the payment from, so we're gonna get all that money back for the next LED, right? And then you guys could decide if you wanna do another LED, don't wanna do one. If you do, then you have this chunk of money and you can allocate some of that money to go something else, right? If you wanna do, obviously, we learned a lesson that 700 and some homes is a lot of homes. And I think we bit off more than we could have chewed. So I think the next LID will probably be a lot smaller scale. So we probably won't need, that kind of capital. So maybe the next one, we just do smaller LIDs, and it stays within that budget. But the person that's taking the internet or taking the broadband, they're the ones that pay that fee when they do their hookup fee. But we're going to get that money back when we go out and solicit for a bond.
Is this a bond that, like, to my understanding, is this a bond that has to be voted on, or is this already a bond that had?
It's more of a warrant. When you quantify it like that, right?
It's a bond anticipation.
Because, no, that's what it was, yes.
It's a ban.
Yeah, it's a ban.
Okay.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Irving?
I think the question was, Councilwoman Burkle was just simply asking to bring back a little bit more fine-tuned budget to match the grant amount. And I think that was what was missed on your end, or whoever missed it. I think that's what she was asking, was just bring us back some more finite numbers, because the original was 48.7, I believe, or something like that. So, and then you can just, whoever makes the motion, you can make it that it's up to that 35 and no more. They all know they have to come back to us anyway. However, that kind of gives them that.
Yeah, that's, sorry,
Yeah.
Mayor,
Councilwoman.
I thought that's where we were at today, is
Yeah.
that we're just, because when we had our conversation, you're like, oh, so were you looking for numbers? And I said, yeah, that's just like how it'd be, but.
Can I, Mayor? Council, for us to find out what LAD2 will be, we don't even know the properties of interest to have surveyed to get any of those estimates going. Like, I could probably give you a rough estimate on legal, but it won't be as much this time around as it was the first time to create it, because all the documents have really been created already. So to give a true estimate, to provide, to mirror that, I don't know, because I don't know the boundaries to give you that data.
So we don't have that information, but the request is to get the grant in hopes that that will cover something that we don't know about.
Correct. Yeah, we're not even close to closing LID1, let alone kicking off LID2.
Right. So I want you to know too that the green sheets, I think I started the green sheets. So one, it was help tracking purposes, and then to let the council know, like, hey, these are the things that we want to go out for. These are things that's, if we can get the free money, that's what we want to do. And then I think it was Councilman Brennan that really wanted to know, hey, where, more tracking purposes. So we created the green sheet, what was the other one? The orange sheet, just for transparency for you guys, like, hey, these are the things that we kind of want to do. It's like cool, just didn't need permission, but I wanted your guys to know what we were doing. That's what those green sheets were for.
And- No, thank you, but I also wanted to see if we could actually even get the grant. I know sometimes the grant, you said, Tiffany, it could be hundreds of pages long. In this case, it wasn't, or even a link to it or something, just so we can review, because, yeah, I had to go hunting a little bit for this.
So for sure, like you guys approved Shasta's grant. We've sometimes we forgot the green sheet. You know what I mean? And then the library grant for was like 500 or 5,000. I don't remember, but those are the, like I said, sometimes we're not perfect, we're human, and never in a million years I think I'd get it, honestly.
Yeah, and I think that's what threw me off too, is that on the agenda it said that you were asking for our permission to go out for it, and you already went out for it, and I was already awarded, so then I'm just trying to figure out the process, because to me that just seemed
Right.
a little backwards.
It was the chicken and the egg, kind of, what came first. Well, I was like, well, we're not gonna get it, but if we do, let's see what happens. But, yeah, we move forward, yeah. We'll do better on letting you guys know where we're going out for cash, I guess.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey?
I will make a motion to approve the grant application 2023-2024-022 request to allow fire department to apply for the BEAD grant, state broadband program, and authorize grant administrator to complete all the documents and mayor and city clerk to sign all required documents.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Run down to, item 2, sorry guys, old business, non-action item deliberation regarding golf course concession agreement with Curly's 2 Sports Grow LLC and set to terminate on September 30th, 2024. Item continued from March 2nd, 2024. Council, what do you guys got?
Mayor?
Councilwoman Garvey?
This is a long shot, I'm sure I'll get shot down, but, the Kirbys cannot be here, and they would like to be here to be part of this discussion. And so I would like to see maybe this item tabled until they can be here to the next meeting. Because I do think it's prudent to have them here, to defend themselves, answer questions. So,
You guys copacetic table it for next meeting?
Mayor?
Councilman Harjo?
I, for one, am not. The business of the city is separate from our interaction with the concessionaire on this topic, in that we still have a lot of work to do under the hood about the configuration of the contract and how we get to the numbers that we may or may not ask for, and what we choose to supply and what we don't going forward. There are many points that I feel that need to be dealt with before we have an interaction with a future concessionaire.
Council?
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan?
I agree with Councilman Harjo that I think we've probably learned some lessons over the time, but I think it's time for the city to work on a contract we want to present to any vendor, and so we were just provided with some potential contract draft options. I'm not sure exactly what to call it, by Councilman Harjo, and I'd like to engage in at least a little bit of discussion with what he's put into this thus far.
Mayor?
Councilman Harjo?
So, thank you, Councilman Brennan. First, as a product of the May 10th meeting, towards the end of item 2 on that agenda, which was the concession agreement discussion, it was, for lack of a better term, I was volunteered to take this part of this on as well. So I included any of the physical notes that were included. Councilman Brennan had a handful of points that were distributed to us in our packet from the April discussion when this came up, or excuse me, February discussion. Getting ahead of myself. So I've included those. I've included the things that I had mentioned. There's some typical housekeeping stuff in here, changing dates and date ranges to reflect future dates on a potential contract. we'd had discussion in the Friday meeting about, at least preliminarily, offering a 3-year contract. So I have that verbiage in here and the dates to reflect that. Going down through the contract itself, I've left the concession fee or rent essentially blank with placeholders because I feel like that's there's a focused portion of the discussion to be had there that we can circle back to in a few minutes. A lot of the meat and potatoes of this is improvements to the premises. I made some modifications to the language there preliminarily with the intent of only having the city create a structural change improvement to the premises or by a written approval of the city council first. Any improvements to the clubhouse / restaurant or supporting structures shall be furnished to the city via notification method provided herein, stating the purpose or need as well as architectural drawings as deemed necessary by the city. Any improvements requested to be made by the concessionaire and approved by the city shall be made at the cost and the expense of the concessionaire. Previously, there was a repayment schema in there for offsetting rent. I've removed that. We can have discussion on that if anybody would like to. New equipment provided by the concessionaire stays primarily the same under Section 8, other than any new equipment provided by the concessionaire that requires relocation of existing city assets or modifications to the clubhouse must be first approved by the city council as provided in various sections of this agreement. What I did do in Section 10, we had a discussion about this in Friday's meeting, and I believe in previous meetings about the concessionaire. Section 10 adding an itemized list of the large kitchen equipment. I have not been able to narrow down all of the specifics, so this table remains open and blank at the moment, but should include the item description, make, model, serial number, city asset tag number, and location on the premises. Gives us a good starting point of what equipment we will furnish and what our obligation to maintain, repair, replace in the future. Maintenance of patio and patio tables and chairs stays primarily the same. The concessionaire has been provided with a leaf blower to assist in keeping the patio area free of dirt, leaves, and debris. Is added in addition to that the city shall work to keep the patio area clean. That is already the mechanism that is in place. Puts a little bit of onus share on both the city and the concessionaire to keep that space clean. Section 12, maintenance area outside of the clubhouse. I included the cooking exhaust vent in the list of things that were already there. That is the duty of the concessionaire to maintain. Under Section 16A, Councilman Brennan's requests for concessionaire to have any potential employees pass a background check.
Yeah, Councilman Brennan?
Do you mind while
Yeah,
you're
no,
going through
feel
the list of the chat? Paul, I wanted to ask legal, in our last discussion, the council had a disagreement about background checks, and I might not say it right, the applicability of them or what rights the city may have with a contract to demand a background check. We did it to the golf pro, right? We added that in. And I'm asking to add language that is more specifically helping the city, which is not only must you go through a background check, but you must pass it and be approved by city staff, something to that effect. Because I think maybe where our disagreement was is what is a background check, or the reason or the purpose of it if there's not a minimum standard that you or automatic disqualifiers, felony convictions or certain felonies or certain misdemeanors, or because we definitely did not specify anything like that in the Golf Pro contract. We just said they have to, I think, pass a background check. What is passing a background check?
Okay. There's two different categories that I'm going to answer, but the one you're asking about is in a contract, i.e. not a city employee. So there's a city employee type background check, and then there's a contract for external agents of a background check. The short answer, it's a longer answer for, I remember we talked about with the chief some years ago on, well, not that many years ago, on for employees. That's different. I'm going to leave that to the side for a moment, unless you want to know about it. But for a contract for external services, I mean, laissez-faire, freedom of contract. You could do whatever you want with it. I mean, you're an external. I mean, the simple answer is if they don't want to sign a contract with us, they don't have to. But for the most part, you can demand a background check. You can, except for discriminate purposes, obviously, which you all can imagine. You can't do it for discriminatory purposes, i.e. race, color, all that stuff. But for wanting to know if the person has, crimes, you of course can require it, and then it's in your discretion as to whether it is. Now, I wouldn't say it's breach of contract, because unless you put it in the contract, it isn't a breach. And so you probably should be specific as to why you want the background check and what would be considered to be ones that would be disqualifying of that employee. So it's tricky without an example, but I would say that you can put in the contract whatever you want to on that, as long as it's not discriminatory.
Sure.
And then kind of leading to the second part of that, felonies, crimes of violence, and then there's a timeliness nature of some of those, crimes of theft, any of the ones that are quote-unquote moral turpitude, so sexual battery, those kinds of things like that. Those are all generally reasons why you would not want, because obviously, what do we care about? Well, they're an agent of the city, and now if they do something to some member of the public, and we allowed them to be there, and that comes flying back at us. So we have every reason to want a background check, and I would argue that it's, if not written in black and white, it's written in gray on the contract that says not only do you have to have the background check, but of course, if the background check reveals something that is objectively objectionable, they can't have that person be employed, or basically we're in a termination type situation with that contract.
Is that something you could get us an example, or when we get to that point, if the council is willing to leave the background check thing in there, you can help us find the right language?
Absolutely.
For that?
Yeah.
Okay.
No problem.
Councilwoman
Yeah.
Nicholas?
I guess the question is too, is what would define what considers a great offense, right? Like misdemeanor, felony, like, do we make those terms on what would be acceptable or not?
That's why I broke it into two categories.
Okay.
When it comes to municipal employees, no. There's actually, and I bet you the chief has some, he's sitting there shaking his head going, oh, the guy had a parking ticket. Well, he's out. It doesn't work that way. So when it comes to a city employee as the basis to, shall we say, discriminate against, and I don't want to use the word discriminate, but basically saying we're not going to take you because of this, because you had an overdue library book. So that doesn't work when the context of an employee. But it does, I know, and the library book is stupid as my example, but...
Watch out.
Oh, wait a minute, it is, darn it, it is. Yeah. Of course I had to deal with you. Yes, for the library, that's the most moral basis of turpidity as I could ever have. But for a contract, I mean, laissez-faire means free, basically, well, now I forgot my French, but basically it means freedom to contract. And so when you're dealing with somebody you're entering a contract with, you could say, if they have any misdemeanors whatsoever, we don't want them at the city. And you could do that. I mean, you legitimately can do that. I don't think that's I think that's a little overbearing. People get, inattentive driving but DUI, for example, well, if this person's gonna be a driver, maybe you do care about that. But as far as when the chief is interviewing, he has a little bit finer lines to deal with the clerk's office. And so you can look at, I wrote the policy for the city of Boise years and years ago that's why I'm like, background check's easy. I wrote the one that was for Boise, 25 years ago probably. And there are different things you categorize, felonies being the big one, but then felonies that are within 10 years. So if it's older than 10 years, now it has a different set of parameters that apply. Certain misdemeanors. And normally the ones you're looking at are dependent upon what the job is. Whether it's driving offenses, usually, unless you're a driver, that doesn't count. Moral turpitude are the big ones. And then again, you look at the timeliness of it. If it was 25 years ago and they had a simple battery and it was a bar fight, no, that's going to be a problem. But in the contractual context, you could almost do whatever you want, as long as it's not truly discrimination.
Thank you.
And when I give you an example, I'll give you an example of a municipal one for what guides a clerk's office, for example, or a police department in hiring their people on and for example, when he asks for background checks, let's say from the feds, they're going to be like, no, we're not going to do that for you, sorry, kind of thing. But ones that come back with rape or something like that, then obviously it does come, that has obviously a moral turpitude to it.
Thank you.
Sorry for my rambling.
Mayor,
Councilman?
if we're done with 16 for the moment, we can move on.
And library.
The only substantial change other than that in 16 was all cleaning supplies shall be the responsibility of the concessionaire, which remains. The city shall furnish the paper products for the common restrooms only, such as toilet paper, hand towels, along with soap products. Concessionaire shall notify the city when those products need to be reordered. The reason that I wanted to delineate that is we have, as we've seen in the bill runs, we have a Cintas delivery service contract that does come across, and it states things like mops, floor mats, and those kind of thing that would typically fall to the concessionaire. And in other parts of the document, but even in this particular subsection, the restrooms in the clubhouse shall be the responsibility of the concessionaire. I feel like if it is the responsibility of the concessionaire, then the concessionaire, what I don't want to do, I guess my intent is make sure that there's a delineation between floor mats used in the kitchen space versus products that are for common use in the city's common areas, like the restrooms and so on, if that makes sense. Moving down the way, utilities, there are two schemas in here. We had some discussion in Friday's meeting about either the city maintaining the utility onus as we have it now and calculating for those in the contract and what our asking price and yearly increases would look like, or the alternate that I presented then, which is on our agenda for later tonight to decide, is the possibility of breaking out and separating the electricity and the gas specifically for the restaurant, reconfiguring the electrical specific to the restaurant, not common space lighting or ceiling fans or HVAC or anything, just cooktops, refrigerators, hood vent, that kind of thing, all of the specifics to the restaurant function itself for power, and then gas, extracting out the HVAC and possibly the water heater onto one circuit of gas, and then having an HVAC or plumbing company come in, break off the cooktop related gas use, and have Intermountain Gas plop down another regulator meter. So the intent behind this is that the restaurateur would cover all of their own electricity utilities and have that bill specific to them on their own meter that doesn't power anything but that focus, and same thing with the gas. Those are some significant expenses to the city month over month. Even at the attribution of 50% that we were looking at before, which again is fairly conservative. If you were to take, say, the last full contract year of 22-23, the actual expense for us as a city was $31,310 without utilities included in that. Like, so zero attribution for utilities. Our remaining expense would have been $16,619. And that, again, that 31,000, there is, I feel like the 50% attribution is very generous, looking at how the bills are structured. I think there's room for discussion to say that seasonally, there are significantly more costs attributed to the restaurant in certain phases of the year. But to extract those out, there's number 17 and then alternate 1. So number 17 was an addition to, there were just a couple of words added. The city shall pay all utilities for the clubhouse used by the concessionaire, including water, sewer, I added trash, and electricity, and will be included in the monthly lease amount. The alternate to that is if the council decides to go out for a request for the breaking out of those utilities. I think it is action item number 8 in new business, to obtain a quote for separating those utility services at the golf course. If the council chooses this option, if it's found favorable that the overall cost impact of one-time hit of that work outweighs the continuous payment by the city to cover those utilities, that we could then, alternate 1 allows us to reduce what the yearly monthly cost on the lease would be appropriately. Extracting out all utilities, they pay their own electricity and power, and we will cover the things that are in the city's purview, like water, sewer, and trash. Any questions on that segment? Termination by the city was only updated to reflect a 3-year term. Option renew, same thing. No changes to holdover. 21, repair and maintenance of the clubhouse. I added the kicker, unless otherwise provided herein, to make sure that that repairs and maintenance, it references the rest of the document when it comes to how we, the city, will choose to perform maintenance on the clubhouse or equipment. Section 22, there was an addition here. The original language states, concessionaire shall notify the city in writing of any equipment failure which causes more than 7 days of delay of operation. I added a portion, written notification of city-owned equipment failures shall be delivered to the city clerk, city treasurer, and golf superintendent within that 7-day period, so that the city may repair the equipment in a timely manner. Any replacement of city-owned restaurant equipment listed under table, or in the table under Section 10 of this contract must be approved by City Council. when we have small things go down that cause small outages, we should be able to move quickly under this. And when we have large equipment failures that we need to, as a city, be aware of, this gives us an opportunity to see those as they happen. Right of access, there was a small adjustment to this one. Previously, it said the city shall have access to the clubhouse and to each part of the clubhouse at all times for the purposes of inspecting. I added, or its contracted agents for the purpose of inspection, maintenance, and repair. Just kind of further delineating what the purpose is. If we have a contractor that needs to come in and perform repairs and maintenance, I want to make sure that they have that ability to. Signage, the concessionaire, I added, must follow local sign ordinance and permitting prior to erecting a sign concerning its business on the exterior of the building. And removed the passage that says, but only with the prior written approval of city council, only for the fact that if we're going to be consistent in our offerings of signage on city property, this, to me, feels closer in line to what other discussions of businesses operating on city property must adhere to.
Mayor. Councilman Brennan.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Absolutely.
On the signs section, I have a thought. I don't know who I want to direct it towards. It might be legal or city staff. I'm not sure. But the signs thing is, I've made it clear from the beginning, right? I'm not a golfer, but I definitely eat at the restaurant there. I feel like there's a feeling amongst the community that to eat there you need to be a golfer, and I don't know if I'm incorrect in my assumption that a lot of people feel that way. And so I tossed around this idea of signs, and Paul, maybe for you, if this is a city building, it's not a city restaurant. We're providing the equipment, but would it be unfair to other business if the city somehow advertises simply saying that it is open to the public, even if you're not a golfer, or would that be considered detrimental to another business if we do that? Like, we're trying to bring people into a restaurant that we don't operate. Am I making any sense? Would that be prejudicial to all the other businesses?
No, just to say that it's open to people other than golfers.
Something to that effect.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
For you golfers, like whoever's in the room, like, is that feeling out there, or is it just me being blind, I guess?
Councilman Harjo.
I definitely see where you're going with that. I mean, I think I haven't checked, but I think on our website it provides like the hours of operation, like open, 5 days a week or whatever it was. There's some language in the existing contract of the minimum hours and days of week that the concessionaire is expected to be open. I don't think it falls outside of our limits to have that as like a factor of, the website or Facebook posts or what have you. If we're going to request in the contract, in the agreement, that the restaurant must be open these days a week and during these windows of time, I feel like it's not prejudicial to the rest of the community to let everybody know that
It'd be
the restaurant's
detrimental
open.
to non-golfers to listen to golfers brag about their scores and lie about all their shots. They actually kick the ball into the fairway. Yeah, and that's the only downside, right, Becky?
I don't golf. Everybody thinks I golf. I don't. I golfed a long time.
Councilman Brennan.
Maybe my thought is, and you guys could correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe simply the city just makes a nice, well-designed sign out front that just simply says restaurant is open to the public. So I don't know. So there's no excuse from anybody else. I didn't know I could eat there. Like, you absolutely can. I don't know. Just my thought. Okay, go ahead.
Councilman Harjo.
Licenses and permits stays the same, compliance with state, local laws, rules and regulations stays the same, taxes stays the same. Insurance, we had this discussion on, in Friday's meeting. The minimum amount of property liability insurance used to be set at $100,000. It's fairly common these days to have a $1 or $2 million policy as a leaseholder to be required in that contract to obtain commercial building liability insurance. I put a placeholder of $2 million in here because that is fairly common. That obviously can be adjusted as we see fit. And then adding a little bit of language that the proof of insurance must be furnished within 30 days of this agreement, and all policies must be verifiable upon request at any point during the contract period. Any discussion on that one? Okay. Workers' comp stays the same, indemnification stays the same. Notice of default and termination by the city maintains the same. Updated date and termination by concessionaire language is all that's there. 34, 35, 36, clubhouse and concession premises on termination, assignment of hypothecation prohibited and non-discrimination all stay the same. Waiver of breach, or waiver or breach stays the same. Time is of the essence stays the same. I think the only thing that changes from here on out is changing out Nina's name for Tiffany's name and some dates at the end of the document. There were a couple things that I did not add that I think we had some informal discussion on, but I didn't have any clarity as to if this was part of the desire of council to pursue aspects of a contract in this case. Perhaps like an expectations section of if the concessionaire will allow things like DoorDash to be picked up. I think we had in our very first discussion, there was a little bit of like outside delivery service conversation. And not knowing where that ended up, I went ahead and left it off. I'd be curious to hear if anybody would have a for or against on that.
Yeah,
Councilman Brennan?
I'm not against it.
Councilman Harjo, when I read the quick draft, the 2-year agreement versus the 3-year agreement.
Yeah, what's on my desk?
There you go. I didn't know you gave me one. So is that, weren't we doing 2-year agreements from here moving forward with everybody's, or no?
I think I put 3 just as a placeholder as part of our conversation on Friday, but obviously like that can change. Like I'm fine with changing that back. Like I was just trying to get us closer to a point where we could have real discussion.
Mayor,
Councilwoman?
2 years for other, what was it for, like TJs you're talking about? Or?
Yeah, we're trying to get away from the long-term ones, you know what I mean?
So whom is all within that 2 year?
And where we try to go to 2 years, right? What was that kind of our, Paul, wasn't that what we were trying to do? Just do it 2 years or easier or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But like I said, it's food for thought. I don't.
Oh, no, I was just wundering who you were referencing to. So
Well, all contracts here moving forward, if we're
with
going to
the
do.
city.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we had some that are in perpetuity, we've got some that are 50 years or 30 years, some that are 99. Yeah, trying to clean up some of the old contracts.
Is TJ's, is this 2 years?
Yeah.
Mayor?
Yes. Oh, sorry, Councilman Harjo. I'm like,
Go ahead. Sorry. If the council's up for that, I can change that verbiage to 2 year.
Mayor,
Councilwoman.
I like the 2 year plan.
Okay.
I do.
Mayor?
Councilman.
Again, like there's a weird gray area where I don't feel as if the city should steer what the desires of a private business are. It is notable that in many other golf courses that have an active bar. They operate like a roaming bar cart. I don't know the legality of that in the state of Idaho, but it is, by my limited experience, like, been fairly common. Again, I don't want the city to be dictating to a concessionaire what type of business they need to be doing, but allowing for that if it is permissible by law and regulation, to allow them to be able to do that if they so choose.
Isn't that just with, and correct me if I'm wrong, I could be wrong too, isn't that, you have to just tell the alcohol beverage control, say I'm gonna sell on golf course premise, and just give them the outline of the golf course?
It's a great question, I don't know.
Okay, I like that, I could be wrong, but I think that's what, all you have to do without alcohol beverage control.
But I'd be happy to add that language to protect that ability if the council's amenable to that.
Mayor,
Councilman, Brennan?
I just wanted to say on the 2 or 3 year comments, I would support 2 years, and the reason why is because the years is protecting us, and they have, if we keep it in there, a 90 days exit clause, right? 90 days, or was it 6 months?
I think he was 90.
It is 90 days.
And so when they have the ability to walk away within 90-day window, then we should have an ability to change our contractor up more frequently, probably, is my thought. So unless, if they strip out the ability to, and I'm not asking to strip out that 90-day window, because we don't want somebody there that doesn't want to be there. And if they can't survive financially, we don't want an empty building waiting for us to be able to advertise for the next available contractor. Not that there's not ways to let one out and enter a new one in, but.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mayor?
Councilman Harjo?
I apologize, I did not get the big board up and running before the meeting. I can get this part up if the council would like to see some of the numbers firsthand. Earlier we discussed the possibility of separating off the utilities, and I have some kind of charted data on what the expenditure looks like if you were to extract out utilities, which I think is also a pretty valuable point in consideration.
Chris. Turn the TV on. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. Sorry about this. I was caught up before the meeting. Sorry, Chris. QBS 495.
Yep, hasn't changed.
So I have a couple spreadsheets. The original spreadsheet that I think we've all seen a million times before and probably tired of looking at by now, it has a lot of the data in it, so I made some modifications to it. This section here, I provided a portion of this on Fridays, so to catch everybody else up to speed. This charts the same yearly expenditure as the original chart, minus our big flyer section of the restaurant furniture purchase for the $28,872. Taking that off because it's kind of a weird one-time spike, and deducting that gives you that $31,310 from the original $53,000 or whatever that was. So The yearly expense year over year for the contract years is the same data as before. There's the weird drop up here in this section for the contract year of 21-22, where we actually, our expenses went down and then spiked significantly the following year. So it's a weird, abnormal aspect. So you'll see here the increase over decrease. You have a weird drop at 18% in total. If you were to leave the 53,000 in this, I don't know if you can see where my cursor is now, in this field, if you would have left that that amount included for the restaurant furniture purchase, it would have been 59% jump rather than removing that and showing a 31% jump. So this hopefully gives a little bit of contextual value to what it looks like in terms of our actual expense increase year over year, and then a chart to follow that same, so you can kind of visually see what that looks like. Then, just before the meeting here, I extracted out the utilities out of these historically, and these figures paired across 18, 19, 19, 20, and so on are what our expenditures were without utilities, and then in the 2023 year without the big expense of restaurant furniture. So this was one that, I think Councilman Brennan, you'd asked for, like what it would look like without those expenses. So just in the year, the last full contract year, the difference in expense of that 31,300 down to 16,600, it's pretty obvious that utilities, even when they're only attributed at like 50%, is a significant portion of what the city's burden is in the existing contract. So for food for thought for the later discussion, if it's appropriate to break out those utilities or not, I think this is pretty telling that it may be worth it to explore, because the delta between these is pretty significant. I think it makes the case that even if we have a one-time hit of electrical and gas work inside the clubhouse, that it will, in a very short period of time, overcome what our continual expense is by taking those utilities on. This chart is kind of a derivative of the previous. This is just a historic of what our expenses are. This, because of that weird drop that had like the 59 or 58% increase, statisticians usually find a way to normalize a weird drop like that. So that's what I've done here. Just taking the difference in this purple box of 21-22 year that was way down in the 19,000 range, is normalized by deducting the lower 2021 from the higher 22-23 and dividing it by 2 to get the 3676. It's the typical way of normalizing, and I'll show you why it's important. In this case, it provides a smooth up curve to compare against our linear difference. This orange line represents what revenue we actually obtained over the contract period versus the blue line in our expense, with that 21-22 being normalized. You will notice in this case, when we don't normalize, the average yearly expense, when you look at it in terms of percentage, jumps by 3%. And that's the purpose statistically of why you would normalize a flyer year like that. It gives a little bit, while it's not penny for penny accurate, it is much more conducive to year-over-year averages. So that's the purpose of normalizing that. This red line indicates the difference between where we started and where we need to be to stay ahead of our expenses. At that, I rounded up to 11% in the formula, but that's the linear delta at 11% to show that how far off the mark we were with our contractual agreement language to stay ahead of what our expected expenditures were over that 6 years.
Mayor, I'm sorry, can I interrupt you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that just justifies why a 2-year contract is important, in my opinion, is because when you had a 6-year contract, we got so far behind the curve on the finances there that we have to create such a significant jump to get ahead.
Agreed.
Yeah, so
Agreed.
another point to the 2-year. That's all I have.
Mayor?
Councilman?
So the average yearly expense here is pretty straightforward in this case. If you were to take that last, if you take the average of all of these expenses, especially the last year, is really a critical and key point, that if you were to take the total expense of 22-23 and break that out by 12 months, there's some data in the other chart that kind of shows that we're right about like $2,600 a month if you were to average it out. Even though if you were to chart the months, there'll be peaks and valleys, obviously, but you take that average and disperse it over 12 months of the total expense, you're at about $2,600 a month.
I have a question.
Yes.
Mayor?
Councilwoman?
And if we extract the utilities, what would that be? Did you have that info?
I do.
Okay.
So, no, you know what, I don't, because
Okay.
I didn't have enough time to do it.
No, I was just curious.
I don't, and so this next chart will be representative of us maintaining the utilities. Between Friday and today, I had not a whole lot of time to continue working
You're
on
busy.
all of this, so this chart here shows proposed including utilities. 3 to 5% is fairly normal in the range of what a typical year-over-year increase on a commercial property contract is. So I have a drop-down that kind of shows what the starting point is from the last full contract year of 22-23 in our actual expense at that $31,310. A 5% increase jumping into the 24-25, and then 5% every year thereafter shows in this. To stay consistent with the previous chart that was 10.91%, rounding up to 11, this is more akin to what those annual contract costs would be, and then annual broken out like the monthly lease rate at that. It is, suffice it to say, it is a significant increase over the current, but this charts to the actuals. We have 6 years of data to go on to show that we're 11% year-over-year expense increase.
So Councilman, I'm going to ask a question. So this is to break even?
This is to chart to break even, including the utilities. We maintain all the utilities as the current contract does. I don't have all the data together to do one without the utilities. It'd take me more time than we have sitting here.
I'm sorry, can I look over your shoulder? I can't see that.
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan?
I hope I'm not cutting him off, but my request at this point would be to take this contract with the potential edits to it home, spend some time, and ask for this to be on our very next regular agenda item, or agenda, as another discussion item.
Okay.
And hopefully all of us can take the time to give the thumbs up or the thumbs down to each particular section, and
Okay.
just justify how, and maybe we can come to at least a closer to a decision than where we're at right now.
Sure.
Council amenable to that?
Mayor.
Okay.
Mayor.
Councilman?
On that, I will distribute this broken out to TIF and do the without utilities aspect as well.
Thank you.
So everybody will have that to review along with the contract.
Copy that, my friend. All right. Thanks for that information. Wow. All right, Council, we'll go run down to action item, or non-action, sorry, number 3, update regarding the Rimrock School District, number 365 High School Team and Desert Canyon Golf Course course range. Tiff?
Mayor, Council, I just wanted to update you. I have got a hold of the golf coach. Their golf season, I think they're at state right now, so it's done and over with. But unfortunately, by the time we met, they would like to work on an agreement into 2025. So they seemed okay with that. They were very receptive. So in the off season, we'll work to get that back to you guys and get it approved so that there's no hiccups rolling out into their next season. So.
Councilman Brennan?
Tiffany, did you say you talked to their coach, or was it to a school principal or somebody that can?
I had to reach out to the Rimrock High School actual principal, which then sent me to their athletic director. So.
Athletic director.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then TJ's in that loop as well. He's their coach.
Perfect. Probably a good option. Thank you.
If you're good, we'll go down to action item number 4, set a date, discuss airport hangar land lease cost per square footage.
Sorry, this is again my show, sorry. This item has been kicked down the road a couple times, the land lease specifically you guys wanted to talk about. But again, you've had a lot of public comment regarding the land leases. We have a lot of information from the FAA that tells you not to. So I'd like to set a date that you all can attend. We bring representatives from the FAA, our JUB engineer, and other people that can speak wisely on the airport to you all to have a very healthy discussion. So.
Councilman Brennan?
Are you looking for a special meeting or? Yeah. Okay.
I would like one that JUB and FAA and those guys, we don't have to necessarily have them after hours, so.
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo?
do we have any idea of what works best for them in terms of, I know they're not boots on the ground here in town.
So council, is that, are you guys amenable to having Tiff reach out and try to set something? I know everyone's got schedules, so what's easier for everyone? Councilwoman? Sorry, I was like.
This is going, so for me, I know my schedule's probably kind of the tightest, but school's almost out. I am going to work for summer school, so I can do afternoons, like after 12:30, any day of the week then.
Okay.
Yeah, I know mine's always the weird one, so just want to let you know.
You're fine. Okay.
Councilwoman?
I'm good, for the most part.
Councilman? Good? Great. Councilman? If you're here.
I'll let the rest of the group decide, and if I can be there, I will.
Okay. The biggest one will probably be the FAA representatives. I'm trying to track them down. What'd you say, Chris? Yeah. So we'll see what works best for them, and then circle in Toby, and we'll get you guys some
Can you
dates.
Zoom them?
Yeah, that might be the best approach. I just don't want it to be an after-hours thing with those guys specifically. They're in different time zones, so. But I will be reaching out shortly. So.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks. Let's run down to new business. Items were removed. Don't have to worry about that one. Let's run down to item number 6, deliberation decision amending resolution 1224R on disallowing political campaign activity on city-owned buildings and property.
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan?
can I start with that one?
You bet.
In my opinion, start off with that, right? Is Councilman Harjo was very correct in the fact that I feel like we rushed through this a little bit. The draft that we came up with, as worded, is a restriction amongst all people as a resolution, as I take it. Paul, if you can focus in here. Sorry, where's my paper? Paragraph number 1. Do you have it in front of you? It does not say anything about restricting city staff or personnel. It simply restricts. It doesn't say who it restricts, so therefore it restricts everybody in my mind, and that was not our intent at all.
Say that again? Number 2?
Paragraph number 1, organized political campaign activity shall only occur with prior written approval of the city council. I think that the thought was that this resolution is restricting city staff, the people getting paid by the city, not, and if we're not specifying that, then as as it reads, in my eyes, it looks like it just restricts everybody as a resolution of the city.
Who else would you have power over?
Well, that's my thought, right? Like, I don't know. Not that we can take power over anybody else, but I don't think this would stand the weight of a judge putting scrutiny on it. Not that we would, gosh dang it, not that we would try to take power over any Joe citizen trying to organize an event, right? But
Well, court, it wouldn't be a justiciable case or controversy unless the city tried to enforce it against like a citizen.
right,
You shall not engage in any political activity. He'd basically tell us to, you know where.
yeah,
And so, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and if you want to do it by interlineation, you can, but I don't think anybody with a brain would suggest that we're trying to exhibit power over a citizen or something like that.
okay.
Yeah. I mean, it would only apply to those that we have the power to control, and even that limited, because of First Amendment rights.
Okay.
So, I mean, you could,
So,
Would your recommendation to be to clarify or to leave it alone?
what's the action? I guess is my question to legal. Like, me as a staff member following that policy, what drives me to bring a written request to them? For
the
Just
only
because
time it
it's-
would ever apply to a staff member, city staff member, is, I work for the, let's say I'm an employee of the city, and I want you, my supervisor, to give me time off so that I can go work on some campaign and do something. That's the only time it applies. If I do my 8 to 5 job and at 5:30 I would want to go volunteer with some campaign, that's my right. I can go do that. And if you guys try to tell me I can't, then I get to have the snazziest lawsuit in town.
well, that's not
I'm gonna win.
Mayor.
Tiff?
So that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, me as a staff member, what brings it to this governing body for approval, for written approval as it's stated?
Because you want time off.
No, I don't want to be part of it. Somebody,
Yeah, okay.
Donald Trump, has asked to use the building.
Oh,
Like, what is that action? Donald asked me to use the building? That's not delivered here. And sorry I'm using that, but let's
he's
just,
never been to Idaho.
I'm just, whatever. Rod and Allen. I don't know. The school bond committee, like, where does politics go? I'm sorry, here we are. Sorry,
If-
guys.
Okay, so if a political candidate, or the Republican Party, or the Democrat Party, or whoever, want to use City Hall to have an organized event, they would come to you and they'd ask that, and you'd put it to them.
So I need to decide whether that's organized or unorganized. That's what that, like, it doesn't say a building. It says organized political campaign activity, which could be me wearing a button into this building, me as one individual, shall have written approval by these guys.
Yeah, if I want to have a button on, if you
But
want to.
that's organized, right?
If you want to have a button on your shirt, you can most certainly do that without asking anybody's permission.
But do you see where like, you see where I'm going? Like, organized. Like, what is the definition of organized to me? Because I'm the one bringing it to them, so help me out.
It's, well, the way I interpret, you guys can provide this answer of what you mean by it. But I would say if you're going to be, if you're wishing to utilize
The facility.
city equipment, city
Yes.
facilities.
So that
Otherwise,
is-
it has nothing to do, I mean, an
Yes.
employee doing whatever they want to do for whatever political thing they believe in, go ahead, it's on you. We have no say in it.
So that's what needs to be defined, is using city facility or equipment
Right.
for the use of organized.
Councilman Harjo.
Sorry.
The language as it sits does not clarify that at all. When it says expressly, organized political campaign activity shall only occur with prior written approval of the city council, it in no way defines that this pertains to city personnel or city resources. This, to me, is worded as the general public at large. There's nothing that refers to city anything. It just says that any activity shall only occur with the prior written approval of city council. So as it stands,
The lawyer in me can't see it just because it's so farcical.
Because it's so farcical, which is exactly my point.
I want you to pass it, and I'm gonna go right after the media going, ha! You can't do anything. Just watch him laugh.
Right.
Mayor, Councilman Brennan.
Except you're not the media anymore.
I'm on the same page, and the notes that I wrote the first time that we ended up chopping down and all this stuff, I kind of redrafted it and when pen and paper here, and Councilman Harjo, maybe will you tell me if this is like what you're kind of trying to discuss is, and I don't know if the term is the right, but when city personnel time or city resources are used in political campaign activity or organized political campaign activity, prior written approval of the city council is required. So when city personnel on city time or using city resources, that's when you come. What's wrong?
I'm just smiling at our city clerk because she's silly.
Mayor.
Councilman,
I know.
What? What's wrong with it?
Harjo.
Tell me.
So we have,
She is silly. She can't stop laughing.
it was presented in Friday's meeting, Title 74, Transparent and Ethical Government State Statute. The legislative intent is provided, definitions are provided, and public funds are provided under 74-604, where it states, unless specifically required by law and except as provided in this chapter, one, neither a public entity nor its employees shall make nor shall public officials make or authorize an expenditure from public funds to advocate for or against a candidate or a ballot measure. I feel like the intent of the language that we may get to for an ordinance is like directly in lockstep with an already instated state statute. If there's a break from this that like I'm not going to define in this moment, if there's a break from this that needs to be further defined, I think that's the point in which if a resolution or an ordinance needs to be instated, like it has to build upon this in some fashion that applies to our city.
Councilman Brennan.
In reading that, the term that stands out for me is advocate, advocating for or against. And in the plan that was going to occur in city council chambers, I think the argument could be made that there was not advocating for or against, just providing an open forum for questions, not saying the city is advocating for these members to get elected or whatnot. So the advocation is probably the only thing I would further define if we were to accept that.
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo.
Agreed. That is the point in which I think the sentiment branches.
We could never violate that part, by the way. We could not use city resources to ever advocate one candidate over another. That's what that provision is.
Mayor.
But as far as providing a forum, which is,
Or one party over another. So when only the GOP party got invited and not the Constitutional Party or the Democratic Party, that's where we were in violation of, correct?
no, certainly not a violation. You could have, in city halls across the United States, you'll have a Republican primary, or you can have a Democrat primary. If it's an open forum, i.e. not a primary, and you're only inviting one candidate or a different candidate, yeah, then that would be a problem. But if the distinction is whether it's for a primary or not. And if you couldn't have a primary for a candidate from a different party where there is no opponent. And so that would, but, I understand what you're saying, and having it be open, I get that, but it certainly doesn't violate the statute.
Mayor.
Councilman Brennan.
I guess I just like to ask, are we going round and round with something that's not gonna, we're not gonna vote on anything tonight, or is there a path forward? Do we want to amend the language? I guess let me ask a point blank question. Tiffany, why are you laughing or when I read that? What stands out as like non-enforceable or comical or?
The comical side of it was like the example, like, where we're trying to tell somebody going, you're not allowed to, put a campaign out without getting our permission. Just, when you follow in your brain, it is comical, that's all.
So it would be like when you have someone park their car that's got a bumper sticker on city property, or a sign in their back of their car, or take AFAD. You have AFAD that has a couple of, it's on city property, and then you have AFAD that has the GOP, it's got the Democrats, it's got constitutionalists, have their own booth space, those kind of things.
I agree that as it's written, it's overbroad.
Okay, then let me make a motion and you guys can decide to second or not then. My motion will be to amend resolution number 12-2024R stating, when city personnel using time or city resources are used in political campaign activity, prior written approval of the city council is required. When city personnel using time or city resources are used in political campaign activity, prior written approval of the city council is required.
Can I read it? I was gonna say,
Do we need,
What's that?
do we need
I read
number
it.
2?
Like one word different than what I wrote down there.
No.
no. Did you want to say?
Why is it, can it be removed?
What?
Number 2, can it be removed? It doesn't even pertain to any of this.
Yeah, that was just a suggestion by Paul on the phone.
It was originally, but depending on,
That's in our personnel policy, so staff can,
so no, it's okay.
shouldn't be defined in that.
I'll second it.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
I should have spoken up when it came to the discussion part.
We have
And on that note, if you'll allow further discussion with the votes that stand?
Go ahead.
Number 2 is a slam dunk to pull it off, in the sense that, like, that is federally protected as it is. I don't see the language being there. I think the new language being introduced still leaves questions that were brought up in Friday's meeting of, if one of these entities comes to the city and requests to use this space for the purposes that we have the right infrastructure and ability as a city to broadcast to YouTube Live and that kind of thing, there's still a portion of, like, the intent is here, but now we're making sure that, well, you can have written approval, but the original intent of this was to not utilize city funds in any way, shape, or form to support these type of activities. Now we leave the door open to, if we allow it by our written approval, are we going to assign a fee schedule to it? We had this talk on Friday. If you have a fee schedule assigned to this of, we're going to charge $100 for an entity to come in and use this space because we're not going to let them run the camera equipment by themselves, like, this takes city personnel time. So in that instance, that would be against what the original intent of the resolution, I think, was targeted to achieve. So logically, you would have to apply a fee schedule to something like that to offset the cost of personnel hours. I think this aspect of the resolution is missing that part, and thusly I will vote nay.
Okay. Run down.
Sorry. But we did talk about fee schedule, so that's something we can bring down, like down the line. I think we talked about on Friday is something that we can propose later on, at another given time. So, I mean, that was a positive, conversation that we had that I think we were kind of on the same page of proposing that later on, so.
Hang on a sec, Tiff, got something?
I just want to make sure that the notion also is that they're not, whatever it is, isn't streamed on the city's YouTube channel. It has to be independent, so something needs to be wrote in regards to that as well.
Right. Councilor Bryan.
I didn't directly say it in my motion. Can we all agree through interlineation of the motion to strike paragraph 2? Everybody clear with that? All right. And then, just for the record, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I'm not a fan of leasing out City Hall right now. Like we have private documents here, executive session documents, and I don't want to have to sanitize my space every time we get into that. If this were to become a new meeting area, not in favor of that. But that's for another time.
If we ever have a great big giant city hall with a huge room and all that, that's usually when you see it. That would be sort of strange to do it in a tiny room.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, run down to action, item number 7, deliberation decision regarding purchasing equipment for the golf course restaurant.
Brendan,
Cal?
can I have that language? Sorry.
Yeah. Will you listen to audio? Because I changed like 2 words than what I wrote.
Council, what do you want to do with the keg coolers?
Mayor.
Councilwoman Workla.
So I think there's only just one, before she's provided multiple options, it looks like there's just one here, because it matches the other one. Is that to my understanding?
Wasn't it the match, or what? Didn't she want like a? No, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I think she just needs to want replacement.
I like the idea of having options, to see if there's other.
There were bigger ones. I think. Didn't she give us like a 4-pack cooler or a 6-pack cooler? Gosh.
Mayor, I don't have my phone on me.
Sorry, Councilman Harjo.
By the looks of what's been presented here, during my tour of the golf course restaurant, there are 2 keg coolers present. One of which has been down for a number of months. I believe Brandy said that it was like August, September timeframe when one of them went down. This looks really congruent to the one that is down. I believe they were both mirrored 4 tap handle units. For what it's worth, I think it's 1-to-1 with what was there and has gone down.
Okay. Council, what do you guys want to do?
Mayor?
Councilman Harjo?
I think we have an obligation by our current contract and an expectation thereof that we repair, maintain, and replace as necessary. If the concessionaire has been provided 2 of these working units in the past, I feel we're obligated to deliver by our contract. Thusly, I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of K-Cooler.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion?
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan?
is there any record of attempted fixing? It's not the most expensive piece of equipment, but is there any record of repair or attempted repair or bids to get it fixed?
Not that I got.
I know, like, we were provided that information on the last item that we agreed to purchase, is that, hey, we got a bid and it's gonna cost as much to fix it as it is to replace it. But we haven't been provided with that information here today.
Mayor?
Councilman Harjo?
I would agree. We don't have a document in front of us. I can add that in the conversation both with Brandy and with Jake that there was a repair and service company that came out to address it, and their input at the time was that it was as expensive to replace or to repair as it would be to replace with new, and that the new would come with warranty. That was the feedback I got from them anyways.
So, hang on a second. Unless you have something pertinent. Is it good? No,
I
go
would
ahead.
assume that Brandy tried to have it serviced. before she came and asked for a replacement.
So there's a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
All right, and then, let's see here, action item number 8, deliberation decision to have staff obtain quotes to separate utility services of the golf course. That was an easy one, that's an easy ask. I can, if that's what you guys want me to go and have them get quotes for, that's easy.
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan?
on a major undertaking like this, are there usually any, do those providing bids usually do it for free, or are they charging for it?
I've always done it for free. Right?
Mayor.
Go ahead.
Idaho Power, that
Oh, yeah.
their new work order system, they're gonna try to recoup. So they're gonna come out and do some assessment and give us a quote. And if we end up not going with them, then you're gonna have to pay some of that, which it's usually about $500. But
Mayor?
And it-
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Is that an Idaho Power job if we already have 2 meters and we just want to transfer some lines? It is?
yeah, they're gonna have to look at the service.
Councilman Harjo?
Yes, that is factual. The Idaho Power's gonna have to look at the service amperage coming in off the pole. The two meters that are there are separated off. One is physically on the clubhouse proper, one is on the backside of TJ's shed. I believe TJ's shed side is 100 amp because its intention was to not be running a whole lot. And I think the clubhouse was 200 amp, but don't quote me on that. But if there's a significant amount of work to be done inside of the electrical boxes, like the breaker boxes themselves, to switch over on these circuits, Idaho Power would likely have to get involved if the service amperage is not enough to service the fridges, freezers, and so on.
Councilman Brennan?
Councilman Harjo, I feel like there's a need to maybe put a drop dead date on here to receive quotes by, so that if everybody's dragging their feet, then this body knows to proceed forward with the city, the other option.
Mayor?
Do you?
Councilman Harjo?
I would agree. I think there's, in our contract, it says time is of the essence, so we're kind of under our own gun in that sense, too. Agreed. I think any local electrician is probably going to be able to give us a preliminary assessment of, you're way off base and this can't be done because of X, Y, and Z, or it's going to have a big expenditure because you're going to have to get Idaho Power. I think it's important to get that feedback, but I agree, a drop-dead date would be really effective in making sure that we can still move forward. And if we're just going to say, time is of the essence and we'll absorb the cost, we'll account for that in our asking price for the lease, then that's okay.
Councilman Brennan?
What's a reasonable time to set this date at? Like 30 days? Is that too short? Or like the first council meeting of June?
So you want a bid by the next council meeting?
I'd like to ask the council what they think would be an appropriate drop dead date. Because to me, I'm not going to start looking at numbers until that's going to be the last thing of this contract that I want to really pay attention to. But we need to get it done as early as we can.
Mayor?
Councilman Harjo?
I think 30 days would probably be more than enough to get some bids in from a ground level electrician so we know, or at least the feedback prior to an actual bid of if service level has to change from Idaho Power, that might be the thing that stops us. So I would like to see like 30 days or less. I think that should be pretty easy to obtain.
And is it
Go ahead, Councilman.
is it a plumber that does the gas lines, or is that who does gas lines?
A plumber or an HVAC person.
Okay. Can we set to receive quotes by the first council meeting of June? What's that date, Tiffany?
Sorry. I don't have it on my calendar.
Oh, 11th.
11th.
Good with that? I'm good with that. Okay.
11th. Council good? Okay.
Is that an action? Do we need a formal motion? Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's action.
Mayor.
Councilman Brennan?
Make a motion to have staff obtain as many quotes as possible to separate the utility services at the golf course clubhouse with a due date of the quotes by June 11th.
Second.
By close of business.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Garvey?
Mayor, I vote nay because I think we're making this far too hard. I think we can come to a conclusion with adding back in utilities on setting a price for the rents. I think that we're making this process a little bit too difficult. So I vote nay.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Mayor, I have no problem just going out for quotes. It doesn't cost us anything other than Tiffany's time, sorry. But yeah, I see no problem, at least just doing the ask, so I vote aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Okay. Run down to non-action on deliberation on the proposed transportation plan. It was presented to the council February 27th, 2024. Council, what we got on it? You good with it? Want changes? Copacetic? Life good?
Mayor?
Councilman Harjo?
Council was tasked with providing some updates prior to this meeting on our feedback about the master transportation plan. I will be the first to say that I set my reminder wrong and did not formalize any email response to TIF's request, which I think expired last week. Sorry about that, TIF. If the council would be amenable to it, I would like to see us table this until the next meeting where we can scramble as council and do our homework and get this feedback back to Tiffany.
Council good with that?
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
I'm good with that. When does the typical update of the CIPs and all that? Like, is each department doing it a little different time frame or all at the same time?
I think they're doing it all at the same time.
Chris, when do you plan to do your next big revision of your CIP?
The CIP doesn't belong to, or you talking, okay, yeah, so the capital improvement plans we're working on right now, and we're planning to present to the council in July.
Okay.
They're in the midst of it right now.
And for streets specifically, I think this is probably unnecessary to say, but you know me, right? I'll get it off my chest. I'd like to see those. If the master transportation plan is adopted, right, then that is truly our guiding vision, that we need to prioritize our projects in the order in which it's recommended in there, with the exceptions of, like, they know this is our number one thing, but it's going to take several years to get there. So let's take small steps, but they should relatively mirror each other. I'm sure you're all over that, but I don't want to put things at the bottom of the list at the top of the list.
Okay. All right. Final comments. Council, what do you got?
Mayor?
Councilman Harjo?
I was approached yesterday by our golf superintendent, Jake. I have a metal fabrication shop that I've produced a handful of things for the city in the past. Jake asked if I could produce a security block that would fit the door frame of the range ball dispenser and prevent people from passing or reaching through that, and kind of frame the opening around of the front side of the range ball dispenser. I will put a memo together to send to TIF to outline what that looks like. My intent is to not charge the city for my labor and services, but to just, if the city will buy the materials, I'll build the thing. So you'll be seeing that coming likely on the next agenda.
Councilwoman Wickler?
So just for clarification on record, so I've been getting some inquiries about, and I know this is brought up every single time there's some type of campaigning event, but parking cars with signs on them for candidates at El Rancho parking lot. So I asked Paul, and Paul's like, yes, it's allowed, so thank you. But is there a sign there that says something about like no political signs or something? Is there a different, at the parking lot that states that? And if it is the difference because it's a sign that's by itself or a sign that's attached to the car? Is that what makes the difference? I guess that's a two-part
Yeah, it's
question.
in somebody's car. We can't, whether it's political signs or advertising a business or wherever it is, if it's on somebody's car as opposed to you posting it on, the property.
Sure.
Or a sign.
Yeah, like a sandwich board thingy or
So
something.
the car is that central protected
Okay.
part of that.
Yeah, so it's allowed for anybody, okay.
Okay, oh, sorry. Go ahead, Councilor Brennan.
I want to stir the pot for just a second. You know I'm really good at that. And I forget the term for it. I'm going to ask a question, but I don't want an answer to it. What do you call that?
Rhetorical.
Rhetorical question. And I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not trying to make anything more difficult. I wish Brendan was still here, but he's not. So Rod's in the question, so in the audience. So I'll ask him the rhetorical question: is have you guys ever asked the county why they don't advertise any of their meetings, or not advertise them, but record them or go live with their meetings at all? Because in my mind, they represent us just as much as us, meaning the city, right? Just as much as the city council does, with all the other things that they have. And they've never, I don't think once ever, done a live video with any of their county commissioner meetings. And I can't singularly control what happens for the recordings in the city council, but just be interested to see if anybody ever has anything to say to our county commissioners about it. That's all.
And I want everyone to know that when I took office, when it comes to recordings, and everyone knows that I wanted the city to be the most transparent. And I think with the way we do our minutes, the way we do everything, the way Alexa types up the minutes is more than any other city in the state of Idaho. If we have no problem videotaping something, like say your guys' meeting on Friday. Betsy was gone, I was gone, do we need to get a double redundant backup? Probably. So if we're both gone, we have someone that can operate it. There's no issues if we're available, and I just want everyone to know that we want to keep that transparency, and like I said, there's no, that's thanks. All right, executive session.
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo.
I'll make a motion to enter executive session under 74-206, subsections B and F.
Second.
It's been motioned and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Workla.
Aye.
Councilman Harjo.
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey.
Aye.